had spent weeks searching for an apartment in the city, and finally I found this small, sunlit unit on the top floor of a 5-story building. It looked perfect, quiet, affordable, cozy, the kind of place where you could read at night with a cup of tea and feel safe. The landlord, a thin man with thinning hair, assured me the apartment had been vacant for months. Perfect for someone who likes peace and quiet, he said. I smiled and nodded, but something about the way he said it lingered in my mind. The first few hours of moving in were normal enough. Boxes stacked in the living room. The smell of fresh paint mixed with the faint dampness that old buildings always have. I unpacked slowly, noticing the creaks in the wooden floor. Not unusual, older floors tend to groan under weight. By nightfall, everything seemed peaceful. I turned on the small lamp in the corner of the living room and settled into a chair with a book. The city sounds filtered through the window. Distant car horns, the occasional siren, the hum of a generator somewhere below. And then at exactly 2:13 a.m. I woke. A faint creaking sound. Footsteps in the hallway. I froze. Impossible, I thought. What? Alone. I lay in bed, ears straining, heart thumping. The sound stopped. I convinced myself it was just the building settling, an old floorboard giving way under imaginary weight. The next night, it happened again. Same time. 2:13 a.m. Footsteps. Nothing. I began noticing small things. Items slightly out of place. My shoes weren't where I left them. The mail I was certain I collected sat by the door, shuffled differently than I remembered. I started staying awake during that hour, waiting. The third night, I set up a small digital camera pointed at the hallway. At 2:13 a.m., the faint sound came again. Footsteps. Slow, deliberate, heavy. Not dragging but measured. The camera showed nothing. The hallway was empty. Yet the sound echoed in the recording. A faint thud, then a soft sigh. I told myself it was paranoia. I was tired. Moving is stressful. Cities are noisy at night. But it didn't stop. Every night at the same time, I would hear the creak, the sigh, sometimes the faint scraping of what sounded like furniture being moved, though the apartment was empty. Then the lights started flickering. Not all at once. Just one corner at a time. Soft flashes. Shadows lengthened unnaturally. I could feel them watching me. One night, the fridge door opened by itself. I had checked it before going to bed. I could see the condensation from the cold air rising. The note I had left on the counter, "I'm home," was now inside the fridge. I realized then that this wasn't just the building settling. This presence, it was aware of me. It was observing. I began leaving notes in different rooms. Warnings to myself, reminders that I was awake, that I was cautious. Every morning I found them moved, slightly twisted. Handwriting I didn't recognize. Not quite my own. By the fifth night the phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. "Hello." A whisper. Soft. Tired. "You're not alone." I dropped the phone. My hands trembled. I told myself it was a prank. Someone messing with me. The next night, same number, same time, 2:13 a.m. "You shouldn't have moved in." The building had a history. I didn't know what yet, but something inside these walls remembered, and it didn't want me there. The nights grew longer. The apartment felt heavier. I started noticing details I hadn't before. The shadows weren't random. They had edges, movement, as if someone was pacing just out of my sight. The phone calls became more personal. Not just, "You're not alone," or, "You shouldn't have moved in." Now it said things I couldn't know, things I had whispered in fear while trying to convince myself I was imagining it. "You checked the bedroom window?" "You brushed your hair at 11:47 p.m. I froze each time. My own routine spoken back to me. I tried leaving the apartment for a few nights, sleeping at a friend's place. But even then the phone calls followed. The whispers echoed in my dreams, mimicking the sounds of the apartment. Floorboards, fridge doors, creaking hinges. I began documenting everything. Every noise, every movement, every whisper. I noticed a pattern, 2:13 a.m. Always, never late, never early. Something about that time seemed to anchor the presence. I tried reasoning with myself. Maybe it was a prank. Maybe the landlord had someone entering my apartment. But the apartment was on the top floor. No one could enter without my key. And yet, the presence persisted. One night, I stayed awake waiting for 2:13 a.m. The footsteps came first. Slow, heavy, measured. I grabbed a flashlight, the beam slicing through the darkness. Nothing. I moved through the living room, careful to make no noise. The shadows stretched across the walls unnaturally. A cold draft brushed my neck. I shivered. Then the fridge door opened, slowly, without sound. Inside was the note I had left days ago. I'm home. But the handwriting was different. Sloppier. Not mine. I backed away. My hand hit the wall and I heard a soft, deliberate tap. Footsteps on the ceiling, directly above me. I realized then that the apartment itself was alive with memory. Every object, every creak, every shadow carried the weight of its past. I ran to the stairwell. Downstairs, the hallway was empty. And yet, I could hear the faintest whisper of my name. The next day, I went to the neighbors. Have you heard noises? I asked the woman on the second floor. She hesitated. Eyes darted to the ceiling. People, they leave after a few weeks. Everyone hears things. Footsteps, whispers, lights that flicker for no reason. The building remembers. I went home, heart pounding. My apartment felt smaller, claustrophobic. At 2:13 a.m., the phone rang again. Unknown number. I answered. You shouldn't have ignored me, said a whisper. I dropped the phone. My hands were shaking uncontrollably. That night, I set up cameras in every room. The footage was bizarre. Shadows moved against logic. Objects shifted slowly, subtly. And in the corner of the living room, something faintly humanoid appeared. Head tilted, watching. It vanished the instant I approached. I realized then, the presence wasn't just observing. It was interacting, learning, testing. And I was its new experiment. The next day, I couldn't stay in denial. I needed to know the apartment's history. I started with the building's ledger, asking the landlord for old tenant information. He hesitated, hands trembling slightly. Why? He asked. Just curious, I said. He muttered something about tenants leaving too soon and went silent. The internet helped more than he did. I found forum posts from people who had lived there before me. They all described the same subtle horrors: noises, lights flickering, footsteps, drafts. None stayed longer than 3 weeks. One forum post detailed apartment 4B, directly below mine. A young woman had committed suicide there, about a year before I moved in. She was found in her bedroom, door locked from the inside. A note nearby, I can't stay. No further details were published, just speculation. I realized that these weren't random hauntings. The apartment itself, the building, remembered pain, fear, despair. And now it had me. That night at 2:13 a.m., the footsteps began again. Slower, heavier. The shadows stretched unnaturally along the walls. I grabbed a small tape recorder and left it running in the living room. The fridge door opened, slowly, predictably. The note I had left there, I'm home, was gone. In its place, a scrap of paper with handwriting I didn't recognize. You've been warned? I felt a chill crawl up my spine. I checked the camera footage in real time. Shadows flickered. A humanoid shape leaned near the fridge, head tilted, watching. Then it vanished. I realized the apartment wasn't just haunted, it was interactive, testing me, waiting, reacting. I couldn't sleep. Every corner of the apartment felt like it had eyes. I set up more cameras even in the bedroom and bathroom. Every night, the shadow appeared in one spot or another. The corner of the living room, the edge of the hallway, sometimes barely visible on the ceiling. Sometimes I could hear whispers, faint and close to my ear. Why are you here? You shouldn't have come. One night, the shadow didn't vanish. It lingered in the living room, almost solid. A humanoid outline, tall, thin, head slightly tilted. I whispered aloud, my voice trembling. Who, what are you? The reply came, not through the phone, not the recorder, but in the room itself. A faint, chilling voice. I am the memory you refuse to see. The lights flickered violently. The temperature dropped. I could see my breath. I ran to the hallway. The shadow followed, stretching unnaturally along the walls, seemingly alive, moving faster than possible. I hid in the bathroom, heart hammering. A faint tap 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 on the walls. The shadow was patient, waiting. I realized the presence wasn't random. It was anchored by the tragedy below me. The young woman, her pain, her despair, it had imprinted itself on the building. And it could extend that memory, interacting with anyone who entered. The phone rang. A known number. I answered. You know too much now. I dropped the phone, my hands shaking. For the first time, I understood that the apartment wasn't just haunted. It was angry. It wanted recognition of the tragedy it held. I sat down on the floor, head in my hands, realizing that my own fear and anxiety had made me a target. And the more I resisted, the more it acted. That night I didn't sleep. I watched every corner, every shadow, every flicker. Every sound, a floorboard, a gust of wind, the distant hum of the elevator, made me jump. The apartment had claimed attention. And now it demanded compliance. I stopped leaving the apartment. I couldn't. The shadow was patient, waiting for me outside now. Every time I stepped into the hallway, I felt it behind me, unseen yet heavy, pressing against my back. Sleep became impossible. Every night the same noises, footsteps, whispers, the faint sound of a chair scraping the floor, slowly moving across the living room. I started seeing shapes in the corners of my vision, faint but unmistakably humanoid. I tried talking to it. Please, I'm not here to hurt you. The air turned icy. My words came back to me warped, whispered faintly. You can't leave, not yet. The apartment consumed me. I stopped eating at proper times, stopped answering calls from friends. I spent hours sitting in corners, watching, listening, documenting every micro noise. I began leaving little notes for myself. Check the fridge. Look under the bed. Do not sleep now. Each note moved by the next morning. Slightly curled, handwritten in letters I didn't know. The shadow no longer hid. It lingered near the doorway, across the kitchen, along the ceiling. It was studying me, learning me, mimicking me. One night, I swore I saw a face just for a second, peering from the living room corner. Pale, hollow eyes, expressionless. I blinked. Gone. The paranoia became unbearable. I couldn't tell what was real anymore. Was I seeing shadows? Or was my mind finally fracturing under months of stress and fear? Determined to understand, I researched the apartment's history obsessively. Newspaper archives, online forums, social media posts. Every story pointed to tragedy in apartment 4B. The young woman who had died there had suffered in silence. Her death left a permanent impression. And anyone who entered could feel it, hear it, interact with it. I realized the shadow wasn't evil. It was pain made tangible. A memory of despair projecting itself into the present. I tried communicating. I see you. I know your pain. I won't ignore it. The air changed, lighter. The shadow paused, motionless. For the first time, I felt acknowledged. I moved out the next morning. But I took the notes, the recordings, the timestamp logs with me. I learned something important. Buildings remember. Pain leaves a mark. Trauma can linger in spaces. And sometimes, it needs acknowledgement to rest. Years later, I still feel it. The phone calls stopped, but occasionally at 2:13 a.m., my mind recalls the whisper. You saw me. You finally understood. I know that apartment is still there, waiting. waiting for the next tenant to ignore the past. The walls remember, the shadows watch, and the memories never truly leave. Subscribe for more such content.